So this is an image that's created in Midjourney. But I'm going to show you how you don't have to use Midjourney to get incredible things. If you want the best photorealistic photos right now, that is Midjourney. Bar none, it's the best. And it costs more. There's 4 credits. And if you use Turbo, which honestly, there's no real purpose. I mean, you can sit and wait, an extra 15 or 20 seconds. There's really no reason to double the cost to use Turbo. But for reality, if you want the best photorealistic images, Midjourney is going to give that to you without having the best perfect prompt. Now, you're also going to see that in Midjourney that it costs more, but you get 4 images to choose from, and then you can do variations and upscales after you've got those. And we'll talk a little bit about that here in a second. I'll walk you through some of the new stuff, but let's start talking about the prompts first. So let's just take a look at the prompt that created this. So here's a prompt. It's a woman with long flowing red hair stand in a golden wheat field wearing a vintage white lace dress. She faces away from the camera, gazing at a distant white farmhouse under a vast blue sky of wispy clouds. The scene exudes a sense of nostalgia, freedom, and connection to nature. It's a photorealistic style with warm golden hour lighting and shallow depth of field. Now, if you're not writing prompts like this, you're writing woman standing in field, then you're not necessarily going to get exactly what you're looking for. So this is why we want to break down how to structure the right prompt for creating images. Now, it doesn't matter, again, if you were looking at doing this on Dall-E 3, SDXL, Leonardo AI, or Midjourney. These are all key pieces that need to be in a prompt to get you the best result. So let's break it down. And I call this the essence of detail. So let's talk about the structure and the essence of detail that you should be putting into your prompts to get the best result. The first thing I like to talk about is the subject. So you have to have a subject. Now, that subject can be several different things. It could be a character. It could be an object. It could just be the scene itself. But you need to have a subject. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the prompt that we have, and I'm going to show you how that actually affects each one of these pieces of the prompt. So our subject in this prompt is a woman with long flowing red hair. So that's my subject part of the prompt that we've already put there. Now, the second thing that you have to have in all of your prompts is you need to have detailed imagery. Like, how do you really want this to be in the details? And you can see that here in this prompt, she's wearing a vintage white lace dress. Okay, so now I'm putting the vision from my mind into the prompt so that I can make sure that I'm getting what I'm actually visioning in my head that I want. Now, the third thing is you need to have the environmental description. So there's several of those here in this prompt. Stands in a golden wheat field. Okay, so I've already put them there, and you can see the adjectives. Golden. That means that it's that whole, like, I don't want them in a green field. I want them in a golden field. Okay, a distant white farmhouse, and then I'm going to describe the cloud, and I will describe the sky. So now I've got a vast blue sky and wispy cloud. Now, you might want it in storm with storm clouds and maybe lightning in the background. Again, whatever is in your mind, just take an image of it and then start to describe it using as many adjectives as you can to really explain what it is that you're seeing. Okay. The fourth thing that you need to make sure is in your prompt is you need to have the mood or the atmosphere. Here, you'll see that the scene exudes a sense of nostalgia, freedom, and connection in nature. What is the mood that you want this image to sit in? What's the atmosphere? Maybe you're doing something where it's over a mythical city, or you could put it over an urban city that is, apocalyptic. You can go and do whatever it is, but you're setting the mood and the atmosphere. So you have your subject, you have your detailed imagery, your environmental description, and then your mood and atmosphere. The fifth thing that you need is you need to set the artistic style. Okay, so this one here is photorealistic. I want the image to be photorealistic. So I'm setting that up and how I want to do it. Now, some of that, the style, can actually be used with presets and models. And I'm going to show you just in a second how models can change very quickly the way that you see it. So you don't necessarily have to put that into a prompt if you have models. Inside of Midjourney, for instance, we have presets, freestyle, and character, creation, or even portrait, photorealistic portraits. So these add the details for whatever it is that you're trying to go already. You don't have to do that. In fact, those models go way deeper into what it is that they're trying to create. And the sixth and final thing that you need in a prompt is the style execution. And that's in the very last sentence here, with warm, golden hour lighting, and a shallow depth of field. Now that also can include the camera angle, right? So how do I want that camera angle? Do I want it low, shooting up? Do I want it from behind and at head level? Or do I want it from a really high looking down, like a drone view of looking down at the person in the field with the house? So you decide how it is that you see it by describing the angles and the lighting and the depth of field. If we didn't have shallow depth of field, then I might see that house in the background is actually pretty in focus, but I didn't want it in focus. I wanted it to be blurred out. So I'm going to give you a shallow depth of field. Now, I will say from the very beginning of using AI, you have to understand that even though you put everything in structure and you have it exactly how it is in your mind, it may not be exactly perfect. And that's where you can go and you tweak it. But the better you are at getting this structure at the very beginning of what your creations are, the less credits you'll use because you'll have less reiterations. And if you do it right, you might just be surprised what you end up with. And it might just be good enough the first time. And so here's the Midjourney version of that. I use freestyle. A woman with long, flowing red hair stands in a golden wheat field wearing a vintage white lace dress. She faces away from the camera, gazing at a distant white farmhouse under a vast blue sky and wispy clouds. Now, notice that I didn't stick in the photorealistic part because in Midjourney, that's not really required. In fact, it doesn't always work great anyway, so I can use a preset. But what I'm describing is already a photorealistic way of looking at it inside of Midjourney. Now, I didn't put a camera angle here, but I could have, and I probably should have. And I could have put in depth of field, but this gives me 4 different images. And so I may want to look at things a little bit differently and choose. And so I didn't put this specifically in on the depth of field because sometimes you get 4 different views from Midjourney, and then I can choose.